Hi, everyone. This is Amber and Sam. This is our podcast, Lipstick, Lies, and Liberation. It's a podcast that is geared towards women, and we talk about women's issues, the good stuff, the bad stuff, the funny stuff, and everything in between. So, today, our episode is going to be dating after divorce. We're going to hit on a couple topics about navigating that situation, things to look for, and things to avoid, possibly not waste your time. But I'm going to get into our segment, our lipstick lie and liberation of the week. So my lipstick this week has been, I've been wearing more lip gloss and like very light lipstick. Usually it's like a feature that I always kind of like miss and don't take advantage of. And like so many of my girlfriends have like 1,000 lip glosses in their purse and they're always like smooshing it on and stuff. And I'm like more of a chapstick girl, like very basic. But I've been wearing more lip gloss and stuff, and it feels good, and it just feels like a little more polished and like, dressed up when I go out. So
Amber
that
in
is my
a blush
lipstick.
with a thin up.
Huh?
I said Amber in a
Yes. I
blush.
yeah, yeah. I have a thin upper lip and like a bigger bottom lip, just like you, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I use lipstick to, I don't know. Mine doesn't really have color. So when I put on lipstick, it looks bigger. But yeah, it's a thin upper lip and we're just very 90s.
Can't help it.
Yeah.
My lie for the week is I feel like, and this will kind of tie into our episode, that when I first got divorced, that all I was really looking for when I was going to start dating would be a serious relationship. But my lie is actually that like I thought I needed a serious relationship the next time I like started like building a relationship with a man, but I actually enjoy the casual ones. And I feel like like one or two casual relationships is actually really nice for where I'm at in life. So that is a lie. I didn't think I would enjoy casual dating. It's been very nice. And my liberation is basically like just realizing that like I can have good connections with men without it being in like a long-term relationship.
Hmm.
So
Amazing.
it's very new. Mm-hmm.
Heck yeah. Um, I love it. My lipstick has been just getting a million flowers. I have like 5 bouquets all over the house. And I've always loved flowers, but I've always been like just one at a time or whatever. But this was like it keeps fall the little flowers keep falling, but that's okay. We still love it. It just was so cute and it's like $27 from a local farm, like whatever. It's already losing all of its petals, but just like filling the house with local flowers makes me so happy and like we don't have to cap that at one if it is bringing a lot of joy. So that's
I
my
agree with you. I feel like I was very much like that. And like lately I have flowers like in my bedroom, in the family room, or in like the dining room, and it's
yeah.
really nice to just kind of like walk around and see them. But as soon as they start to die, they've got to go
Yeah.
because then it kind of is sad. It's like, oh, there's my dead flowers.
Yeah, unless it still looks pretty, like, yeah, they're gone. But yeah, it's
Mhm.
okay to buy like multiple bouquets, even if they're like $20 each.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's so fun. And my lie is kind of like taking everything so seriously. I'm kind of like an accidental perfectionist, which feels really weird for me to say because I've always been such a type B person, but I think it's because I've just been like in survival. Like all of my 20s was just pure survival. Like, um,
Mhm.
yeah, like just not having a place to live, like working any job I could, and like all of my 20s and just being really financially unstable. And so it was like my lie was that I couldn't do something unless it was like this future date where things in my life were more perfect. And I don't want to say things are perfect now. I mean, they are pretty amazing now, but my lie is like, you don't have to put things off. And I'm kind of in my fuck it era right now where I'm so excited. Like, I have a poetry book that I wrote that I like wanted to self-publish like 10 years ago. And I couldn't figure out the formatting. So I just never published it. And I'm like, with the AI tools now, it's probably so easy to just go on Amazon and like I'm sure it could format it for me. Whereas like in the past, self-publishing, like you had to manually format it. So I'm like, I'm just gonna publish that. And like
Yeah.
all of my courses, like helping men heal erectile dysfunction or like shamanic sex, like all the courses I've taught, all the things that I've written, um, I'm just gonna start publishing stuff like crazy and like not take it seriously. Like it's not actually that serious. And it's funny because my first ever website that I made, I had like a few taglines like explaining my work and who I was. And I put like Samantha Schultz, writer, Reiki master, YouTuber, something, something, something. And someone messaged, like someone left an anonymous message on my website and was like, "You're not a writer, LOL."
People are so mean.
And I have
But it's
no.
like that person couldn't even like back it up by like saying who they were. So it's like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it just was so funny. I was like, okay, well, the thing that was so beautiful about that moment was, um, and it wasn't like a YouTube comment or something. It was like a personal message through like anonymous message
Oh,
through my website. Like you could submit, like if you wanted, because I was also
yeah.
talking about healing sexual trauma. So like people would reach out to me about that. And that's why I had it as anonymous so people could feel
Mhm.
safe. And like they used that to be like, "You're not a writer, LOL." And but what was so like amazing about that moment was that I had a friend who we both wrote poetry and she applied to be a writer for Thought Catalog. And it was just this giant like website, kind of like BuzzFeed or like an online Cosmo kind of, I don't really know how to describe it. It just was a lot of articles in one spot about a lot of different topics. And so she applied to get a right to be a writer and she got approved. And then I was like, I want to apply. And then so I did and I got approved and I had my first ever article published like the day that they sent me that.
Wow.
So I was like, I
Tell me
am.
about that. That's exciting.
Yeah, I was like, no, I am a published writer. And then I had like poems published, my method for healing sexual trauma published. Like so many things were getting, so many of my articles were published about women's empowerment and spiritual experiences. And it just was really funny. Like people try to say like you're not something, but no one can decide that besides you. And
Hmm.
so
Yeah,
yeah, so like with the poetry book and writing, I was like, oh, maybe I should wait for like where I can apply for an official public like publishing house to do it with. But no, I can just put it out into the world and it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be this serious thing. So
that's
if you're
awesome.
holding back from a dream, just do it. Like it doesn't matter. It's really not that serious and just you can do anything. It's all made up.
Yeah, and start it as soon as you can because, like, why are you putting it on hold? You know?
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. That's how I feel. So
love it.
that's my lie and my liberation in one.
It actually really is. Yeah, it's liberating to know that you can just do that, you know?
Yeah, you just fucking do something and then you're someone who does that. It's like
Yeah.
pretty simple.
It's like, oh, no, wait, I actually am a writer.
Mhm. Mhm.
Oh, okay. So, dating after divorce. It's been a wild ride. It is. Ladies, if you are starting it, make sure you're in a good place, you know, with yourself individually, because I feel like it does take a lot of energy from you. So, like, you know, like almost if like I go on too many dates in like a short period of time, like I'll just be like, I can't see anybody, like friend, date, nothing. Like I just need time to like recuperate. You know what I mean? It's really fun. It's a little soul sucking. It's like all the things. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah. So there's so many ways to meet people after divorce, but it's also hard because like you're going through so many changes. You know?
Yeah. Well, okay, so after getting divorced, like how did you know how did you get to the point where you were willing to open your heart again or the idea of like letting someone into your life? Because you said that you thought it had to be this serious thing, like it had to be a
Mhm.
serious relationship. So how did you get to the place where you knew that it was like that you were ready to go? Because Amber
So
went through divorce, when was it?
So we decided in 2024.
Hmm.
So it's been 2 years since we had the conversation, being like, okay, this isn't working. We're going to start taking steps to get divorced.
Yeah. And then it was officially divorced
Last year, like
last.
paperwork and all. Mhm.
Yeah. So it's been
And
some
like
time.
literally, I would say,
Oh,
yeah, and I would say literally everything from it just calmed down.
yeah. Mhm.
So yeah, it's been about 2 years. I would say, like, and we've touched on this in a previous episode. I did what I feel like a lot of people end up doing, and I actually reconnected with somebody from my past. Very quickly, like maybe like a couple months after my ex moved out, but it had been very public knowledge for a while that we were getting divorced and we weren't together. He had already started dating someone before this happened. And I got into a very serious relationship very fast. So I think like it was very comforting for me because, like, as we've talked about, like sometimes like you're so lonely. And then by the time you get divorced, you're just like, I want a nice, affectionate, loving relationship with someone. So that
Yeah.
kind of like fell in my lap and like I ran with it.
Mhm.
Um, which in retrospect, I wouldn't have done if I could do it again. I would have spent some time alone.
Yeah.
But so that became very serious, very fast, lasted about a year, and then crumbled. And then, so like I'd really say after that relationship was the first time that I was like, all right, when am I going to be ready to date? Because the other thing happened so fast and
Yeah.
like without expectations and just like came that it
Yeah.
was like the first time I had to decide, do I want to date or not? Yeah,
Yeah.
like do I want to put myself out there?
Mhm.
So it took me about I would say like 4 months after that relationship to be like, all right, I'm ready to start casually dating.
Mhm.
And I would say it's been about 6 months since I've been out of that serious relationship. And I still honestly don't know if I'm at a point where I could completely open up my heart to somebody and trust somebody.
Yeah.
I don't. Because I think from the burn of the divorce, the burn of the failed relationship, it's like, it's like two people that I did really trust that broke my trust. And so like now I meet these guys and they have very good qualities. And I am very open with them. I don't lead people on. But I have gotten to a point where I'm like, wow, am I really going to get to a point where I can trust people? So I think that's like hard to gauge and every woman will kind of know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's like you need time to see who people are. Like I always say this in my dating course, like, and I said
Mhm.
this to Ben, my fiance, like, this is great and you're amazing so far. Like, we'll just see how it goes. Like that,
You
this
used
is
to say that to me. You were like dating him for a while. I was like, oh, is Ben coming to Christmas? And you're like, maybe. And it was
yeah,
like 3 weeks away. I'm like, what do you mean, maybe? Well, maybe. Like,
yeah. If he keeps behaving how he should and treating me how he should, then maybe. Like,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah, because it's trusting someone is a big deal and opening your heart is a big deal. And you really don't know until you've gathered a lot of information consistently over time. So, yeah, that makes sense why you're like not at that point yet with anyone new because it hasn't been that much time with any of these people you've met who, even though they seem like really great people, it's yeah.
hmm Well, yeah, it was almost like I was with this other person for a year.
Mm.
And it wasn't until the last few months where I felt like I actually like really knew what was going on, who he actually was, and like so like it does take a lot of time to get to that point with people. And like you might think you know them, but then you don't.
Yeah.
I think for women coming out of divorce, like you're probably not in your early 20s most of the time. You may or may not have kids. And if you have kids, I almost feel like the dynamic is a lot harder because if you're single getting divorced and you don't have kids, it's basically like your time is your time. So you can devote as much time or as little time to dating as you want. But when you have kids, like I have a very small amount of free time. I do have my kids most of the time. So it's like I'm conducive to like every other weekend. So it's like, all right, well, I haven't gone on dates. Am I going to go on one date this weekend? Or am I going to try to shove like 4 dates in to see if I like someone? And then it's kind of nice because then I can spend the next week talking to him, getting to know him, like you said, without being face to face. And then when that next weekend rolls around, okay, like, all right, so this one's going to get a second date. But then, so like, it is hard with kids because you have to like maximize your time. But sometimes that can feel weird if you're having like so many dates in like a small amount of time, which is something I was very against at the beginning. And
Yeah.
like after like a month or two, when I finally got over the shock of like online dating and like how aggressive some of the men are, and like how many options there are. It's almost like there's like too many options.
Yeah.
And I think it depends on like, and it's like, what age are you like at? Because like I'm early 40s. So like I'm in this weird space where I have like men in their, I've had men in their young 30s reach out to me. And I'm like, it's too much. But then like mid 30s to like 40 is like, okay, like that's close to my age. But then I also have this gap from like 40 to 50 that I feel like would be totally acceptable, age wise too. So like when you get divorced, sometimes like the pool is so different than the people you would have dated before you got married, because when you got married,
Yeah.
you were probably younger and you're sticking to like a 3 or 4 year age gap.
Yes, yeah, that is so funny because when I mean it wasn't a divorce, but it was a long-term relationship and we lived together and like had a house and all this stuff. So it was like um but when I think we started dating when I was like 26 and then I was about 30 or 30, I think I was 30 or 31 when I moved out and we broke up. And, or no, it was only 3.5 years, but basically it went from being like mid to early, like mid 20s to 30 something. And it was very
Mhm.
bizarre because it was like, okay, well now I can date like a 40-year-old and it's not that weird. But like at 25, I would have never dated a 40-year-old. Like,
Yeah.
so it's, yeah, it was like I can date you or your dad now. So
I
like,
know. I've seen videos. It's like if you date a younger guy and he makes you mad, like
good.
if you guys break up, just date his dad, because like then you get back to him, and that's not something I would ever do. But it's actually
Yeah.
hilarious because like you're in this weird age range where it's like, well, I could date his dad, and like that
Yeah.
would be fine.
And it not
So
weird.
that
Yeah.
is very interesting.
The
I
age
would be
thing is
really,
weird.
yeah, and I would be interested, like, if people, like, if you guys are watching this, to leave comments, like, what do you think is an acceptable age gap when you're going back into the dating scene and maybe you're in your like late 30s to like early 40s dating again? Like, what's too much and what's acceptable? Because, like, I talk to other women and they're all over the place. And a lot of women think that they can date much younger men and that's okay. But if a man our age in their 40s dates a much younger woman, then it's kind of looked at as like skeevy and stuff. And like, there's parts to that argument that I understand. But then it's like, should it be like even on both sides?
I disagree because I think it's like a power dynamic. Like men just naturally in a patriarchal society hold more power. So with a woman being older and having more resources and more like awareness and experiences and wisdom, I think that evens it out. But a man who's
Mhm.
older, who then is like taking advantage of a young woman who like doesn't know any better, that's just like tale as old as time. Like that's
Or
just,
maybe that woman's not as established, like financially, and can be taken
yeah.
advantage of more. Whereas if she's in her 40s and there's an age gap with a younger guy, she's probably more financially secure and can't be taken advantage of in that way.
Yeah, there's just so many factors that like lead to men being able to exploit women for their innocence and their energy and their youth and it's just weird. But I do think there are certain situations that can make sense and it's just like you just see it and you just know. Like I had an ex whose dad was in his 60s and he like rode 20 miles on his bike every single day and he was a college professor and he got married to and had a baby with another professor who was like mid 30s and my ex was like really freaked out because he was like she's like my age, like I should be dating her. Like it's so weird, but when you saw them together you didn't notice the age, like they just were so
Mhm.
like they made so much sense and it was like weird, like they flowed together and you're like oh yeah, like they should be together like it's
Yeah. Well, I think
so
it depends too. When someone's like in their mid 30s, it feels a little different to whereas if he was like 50 and she was 25, then it would
yeah.
feel very different. And it'd be like, whoa, she's way too young?
Agree. The
Yeah.
prefrontal cortex has to be developed, which is 28. That happens at 28 for women.
So I got married before that happened, and that explains a lot now.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Your prefrontal cortex is in the front of your brain. It's responsible for decision making, consequences. It's like your personality. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
I got married at 24, so now that explains a lot of things.
yeah, I think men's finish developing in like at 32. Like it takes longer than
Oh,
women's.
even later. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it
All
does.
right.
It's yeah.
Yeah. So speaking of like the male female dynamics, when you look at like people dating after divorce, one thing women have to deal with, which is very new for me, is the whole safety aspect of it.
Hmm.
It's like, and I've explained this to men when they've like said things to me that make me uncomfortable, like I've told you before. And I've had men like ask to pick me up, which is very nice, ask to pick me up and take me somewhere, or ask me to like go do something that's like, I don't know, like, like they want to hike. And I'm like, why do you like, okay, I like being outside. I like that you hike and you're in shape. I like to hike, but no, I don't want to hike with you on the first or second date and be
Yeah.
in the woods alone with you.
Yeah.
Like that
No.
actually happened to me one time. I had gone on quite a few dates with a guy and we went into the woods going for a walk. And
You did
yeah,
not
like
tell me
after like 20,
this.
I know because I don't always tell you all my bad decisions. But after 20 minutes, I was looking around and I was like, like I like really know this guy. I feel like I know him, but like this was probably a bad decision, And like I tell you the whole time, I'm sure he didn't think once, like, is this
No.
girl gonna kill me or am I safe, And like, but it was just like I was like la 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 la, and then all of a sudden this wave of awareness rushed over me,
Wow.
and I had to realize like I'm a very trusting and like nice person, and I assume everybody else is the same way. And it was fine, but it was just one of those learning experiences. So like I don't think men think about the things that we have to do. Like, and I feel bad for you, Sam, because like I'm like snapping shots of these guys' pictures from Hinge. I'm saying I'm meeting this guy. This is his name. These are his pictures. This is his
Hmm.
phone number. This is where I'm meeting him. This is the time. And like it's exhausting kind of mentally because it's like, how can there's something like nights that I'm getting ready and I'm like, how can I get into a space to like go meet this man and be excited and like be like fully fun and open to him when I'm also having to like send somebody all of this information just to make sure I'm staying safe and making sure I have my mace in my purse?
Yeah. Yeah. Always be booby trapped. That's the rule of thumb.
Yeah, so that is something I also recommend for any woman, not even after divorce, but any woman dating and like meeting people, that they don't have a connection to, or even meeting people that you have a connection to, because sometimes it's the people that you feel safest with that attack you.
Yeah. They sometimes I would find out someone was a stalker or like crazy after like 5 weeks. And it's like, thank God I took it slow with them. And then also like it's still I was still at risk because they knew where I worked and where I lived. And it just, yeah, it was a bad situation. So you just don't know. It takes time. But okay, so how are you meeting these new men that you were going on dates with?
So it is primarily just for dating apps, which
Hmm.
is a new thing. And if women are my age and like got married in their 20s and now dating after divorce, like they didn't exist last
Yeah.
time I was single. So like I've gotten used to it now, but at
Yeah.
first it was like being thrown into a jungle and it was like, like 200 matches, 250, 300. And then it's like all of these guys and stuff. And it's like, how do you decide who to talk to and like give your time to, especially if you have limited time.
Yeah. Yeah. The I taught Amber this, and if you're listening right now, you can pause your account so that way it doesn't show it to any more people. And that way you can go through and like actually evaluate and take your time and not feel pressured. Because my fear when I was on dating apps was like, I'm gonna take forever to go through these like 200 dudes. And
Mhm.
then like by the time I get to someone who I might actually like, if they're towards the end, they might be dating someone by then. Like,
Yes.
yeah.
Mhm.
So if I had like 10 people that I was like, okay, let me sift through these 10 people, I would pause it. And that way it's not that way, like if the person who's at the end of the 200, you could actually match with them way faster. Like if your account is paused. I hope that makes sense. But um
It does. And I think that's good
yeah.
strategically because I feel like for women, especially, like, I mean, they just, on these dating apps, they just come out fiercely for us?
Yeah.
And if you're not used to it, it's shocking. And another thing I started doing because I was getting so overwhelmed with like going through all the matches and seeing if I like somebody, that I started spending more time instead of looking through like who reached out to me, like going through who was available. And I
Mhm.
find that like if I go on and send like a proposed match to somebody and we match, I usually do better connecting with those people than if
Yeah.
they had reached out to me. Because it's like, yeah, because it's like
Mhm.
I looked at them and thought, oh, it might be somebody I like, instead of like being like, okay, you like me, let me look at this. Like maybe it'll work. Okay, I'll talk to you, you know? Does that make sense?
Yeah, but you need to be harsher than with the people who are reaching out to you.
I do. And I found because my time's so limited, like I've like been very selective about like who I start to talk to. And like if something happens that I don't like I'm just done with it, and not in a mean way.
Yeah.
Like an example is I told Sam that I started talking to this guy on the dating app and he seemed great, you know, like hits all the qualifications. Actually never been married, no kids and stuff. I'm like, wow, like okay. Didn't live far away because sometimes, I mean, I match usually the guys I like live in different states and stuff, and
Hmm.
that makes it hard. You know, I'm like, why can't they live in the town next to me?
Yeah.
But yeah, so I matched with this guy, and he said, well, before I set like go on a date with somebody, I like to have a phone conversation first to make sure we're like, you know, can at least hold a conversation. And I thought, wow, like nobody's asked to do that, and I think that's really great because it's like respecting his time, respecting my time. So we had this great phone conversation, and I told Sam a couple of days later, he messaged me, and it was like, you know, in the morning, 10:30, 11, and it was a work day. So I messaged him back at like 5:30 or something, and he'd asked how my day was. And then he messaged me and said, well, your day must have been really busy because I messaged you this morning and you're just now getting back to me. And I told Sam, I was like, I haven't even gone on a date with this guy, and he already feels like he can like throw a comment at me telling me I didn't message him back quick enough. Like,
Yeah.
I just wanted to be like, I know why you're single.
Yeah.
Like,
There's
you
just
know,
so
so I
much
just like cut that one.
passive aggressive like energy in that.
Yes, and like that's not even good. Like it's not a good quality that you want in somebody. And if they're willing to be like that before you even go on the date or act like they have any right to tell you how quickly you should be responding to them, it's
Yeah.
like he did me a favor because now I didn't have to waste one of my evenings going on a date with him.
Yeah. I will say though, there was a guy, I mean, this is different, this is separate, but it's like along the lines of the cadence of communication. There was one guy who I was interested in and we like couldn't go on a date and it got pushed back for some like for my reason and then for his reason. And then we were gonna finally go on a date, but then I think no, I forget what happened. Basically, I was interested, we were talking, our dates kept getting pushed back for things like on both our ends. And then but he was not responding. Like I would text him and he would respond like 5 hours later every single time. Every single time.
Hmm.
And it was like 2 weeks of this because the dates kept getting pushed back. And I was like, if this is, it doesn't make sense why it's exactly 5 hours every
Yeah.
single time. And I was like, that your communication style doesn't work for me. And I was
Mm.
like if you can never text me back within like the hour
Yeah.
occasionally, then like this is never gonna work. And that it had been like a 2 weeks or more of like texting. And I feel like that's just so random for someone to never respond somewhat quicker than 5 hours. Like for me, I was
Mhm.
like, you obviously aren't that interested and like this just doesn't work for me, this timing. So that is a different thing. Like it's okay to have standards and communication, like the way that you want someone to communicate with you. But if it's like you're just talking on Hinge and you don't fucking know them, and it's like that's very bizarre and weird. And also it was work. Like it was during the day at
Yeah.
work.
Like I
That's
don't
so
have my
weird.
enough during the day. I work till 5. Like I felt like
Yeah,
getting back to him around 5:30 was actually good.
it is
Like
good. Yeah.
Um, yeah, and I
Very
will say
good.
too, like what you're saying, like if somebody's not as responsive, I think for women,
Hmm.
like it's like if you have somebody who's not responsive, there's so many people out there. Like, don't even waste your time with it, you know?
Yeah.
And like I feel like I did go on some dates with one guy, and he was very nice and funny. And he was like the kind of guy who would like message me good morning every morning and good night. And he was very consistent with his communication. And he knew I was a single mom and I have 3 kids and I work during the day and stuff. And I'd been like kind of short with him after our second date, like just like barely getting back to his text messages. And I like, this is the one time I got like a direct message that I actually appreciated. Like he messaged me and he was just like, look, gorgeous, I'm trying to flirt with you over here and you're being so short with me. And he was like, I know you're busy. He's like, I know you have a lot going on. He goes, I appreciate that. I do not need a lot of your time. He's like, but give me something more. He was like, I
Oh,
can't even flirt with you properly.
that's
And I was
funny.
like walking the dog and busy and I got his text, but it made me laugh. And it was
Yeah.
like direct without being mean, without
Yeah.
being passive aggressive. And I was like, he's right. I look back at my text, like, how's your day? Good. How's yours? Like, there's like nothing to it, you know?
Yeah.
And so I laughed and I told him, I was like, you know what? Like, I appreciate your text. That was really funny. You made me laugh. And like, you're right, you know, like, so I think there's ways of like building communication and doing it properly without like being like demanding.
100%. Yeah, it's like, how can we make this play rather than something that's so serious? Again, it's not that serious. It's like, it
Mm.
is, but it's not at the same time. Like, it's serious in terms of safety and not wasting time, but it's not serious in terms of like approaching a conflict or like something small like that. Okay, so
Mm.
we've talked a little bit about dating, but like for someone for someone who's like going through a divorce and like you if you don't mind me sharing, um like I used to say what did I used to say
I
all the
tell
time?
you so
Yeah.
much. When you say, if you don't mind me sharing, I like clinch up because I'm like, oh God, what is she going to share? But go ahead. I can't wait to hear it.
Well, what did I used to tell you all the time whenever you talk to me about anything that was bothering you regarding a man?
If it doesn't feel good, if you're not happy, like don't do it, you know?
No, I used to say you could throw a rock and hit a man who would worship you.
She does all the time. She's like, Amber, you could step outside of your house and throw a rock and like just
Yes.
find a guy.
And for anyone too, it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't, if you're a woman, men get so much energy and so much from women. Like, men just being in the same room as any woman, like, improves a man's life
Mm.
immediately. And men will be like, yeah, that's that's the truth. So like it doesn't matter. You don't have to look a certain way. Like you could literally throw a rock in down the street and like hit a fucking man who would worship you. Like you don't have to settle. And I feel like maybe going through divorce, like it might seem like, oh, are there actually people out there? Like, are there
Mhm.
actually people to date? Or like, because like before you do it, you don't know. Or like before you've embarked on that, that might be the biggest fear. Like, well, I know I have this, and even though it's making me miserable, at least I know it's real. Whereas if I like leave and try to date again, what I am looking for might not be real, and realizing that might be scarier than staying.
So I think that's so important. That's something I wanted to hit on is like, I do think there's a fear of like being alone forever, you know? And I think that that's something I'd really tell women, like, don't be scared about it because like I think it hits everybody, you know, like at one point, like I've thought it like, oh my gosh, like what if I don't like somebody? And then like, what if I left my marriage that wasn't like good in a lot of ways, but you know, like, and then just settle for something that I don't really love anyway because I don't want to be alone. Like, you don't
Yeah.
want to do that. So it's like, hang in there. There are so many options. It will happen, you know, like, but just like you do have to like either go on a dating app or put yourself out there and like go out. Like, he's not going to come to your castle and come find you. You know what I mean? Like, you can't stay in all the time, but you can do it little by little. It doesn't have to be this like, I don't know. I feel like sometimes it can feel like a rush. Like, let me go on as many dates as I can because, like, you know, like then I'll find somebody quicker or something like that. But it's really not. Like, I feel like my advice would be to like enjoy this because sometimes it feels like lonely or like, you know, you get those like insecurities that creep in that you'll be alone. But like, you will find somebody and get into a relationship. And then you'll look back at this time and be like, oh, that was like fun. You know, like that was a good time
Hmm. Yeah.
instead of it seeming like a stressful thing. So I would tell women, like, don't be scared. There are plenty of men out there.
Yeah. I think that is the most positive thing about dating apps. Like, even if it doesn't lead to a fruitful relationship, or if the men on there are whatever, like every clip on the internet is like, oh, all the men on podcasts are just the read, or all the all the men on podcasts are the rejects, but like all the men on Hinge or like on dating apps are the rejects. And it's like, well, even if that is someone's experience, like they're not having a good time dating on dating apps, like it is really positive to show you that there are so many people out there that you don't know, and there are so many options. And so like you don't have to be limited, like have an abundance mindset. And another thing that I used to try to grill into Amber's brain when she was really in the thick of it, like struggling with just contemplating a lot of decisions in your life, big decisions that are important. But this is like, it's important if you're a spiritual person, if you're religious, if you have an understanding of the world that's meaningful for you. And I also, this is a one of like part, this is a topic of a training in my dating course, but is like, what do you believe in that's bigger than you and outside of you? Like, do you believe in God? Do you believe in love, universal love, or source, or Jesus, or whatever? Like, do you have something that's bigger than you that's helping you and guiding you in your life? And do you think that it's abundant or do you think it's limited? Because how you are thinking and living and choosing in your life is an example of what you're believing. And sometimes it's not always in alignment with what we claim we believe. And so, like, if you believe in universal love and that you are guided and you have angels and that everything works out, but you're like afraid and in a scarcity mindset, then that's not congruent. And there is an abundance, and like there's an abundance of amazing people who would love to meet you and maybe even date or get into a relationship with. And there's amazing people who will help you along the way. And like just having that abundance orientation to your life and having that like spiritual perspective of there's something guiding me, and I'm not a drowning woman is what I used to say to Amber, is like, you're not a drowning woman. Like there
Um,
is so much in this world for you, and you don't have to settle, and you don't have to lay down and let all of the scarcity wash over you. Like you get to choose. And I don't think believing in the scarcity is in alignment with your beliefs. So, yeah.
yeah. Well, so I totally agree with that. And I think too, for like women getting back out there after a divorce, like, I don't know. Like I wasn't in very many relationships before I got married, and I circled back to an old relationship after my divorce. And I only had like a very small view and like mindset of like the men I thought I liked, the
Mhm.
men like I thought I wanted to pursue. And like something I've been doing with like dating is I've been like trying to accept dates from like, guys that I think I would be interested in that aren't my typical type, and it's really like surprised me, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And it's opened my eyes to like how many different types of men there are, and like
Yeah.
different types of relationships you can have. And I think that's important for women getting back out there. Like, look, whatever you left didn't work. So I almost like have like a little ticker list of like things that I know I don't want. And then if I see those attributes in someone I'm like dating, I'm like, I've read this book before. I've seen this movie before. Like, I think it's time for something new.
Yeah.
And I think that's like kind of exciting because I've had great chemistry, great dates, and like great connections with men that I normally would never think
Mhm.
I would be interested in. You
Yeah.
know,
And it's just
it's
such an
really
exciting way to go about it too.
yeah. And like even like I would say too, like be open to like cultures that you've never dated. I've
Mhm.
been like very surprised dating men from like cultures I've never dated before and had amazing times. And I don't
Mhm.
want to say anything bad about American men because there's a lot of great American men out there, but like the men that haven't been American that I've gone on dates with, they have such good manners and they usually have a cute accent. And it's very nice.
It's just different. It's different cultures where they like, even if they are patriarchal in Europe, it's like they respect women more. They value women more, even if they're still not like, oh, you can do whatever a man can. I don't know. Because sometimes, like, I'm thinking of my Ukrainian friends or people where it's more like, or Russian friends where they're like, well, the woman does this. And, but it's like they still worship you and they still are like, you're the boss because you're the woman. And even though they try to maybe put you in a traditional box in terms of like, um, I don't know. I don't like yes and no. I remember I dated a Russian guy one time who just like he cooked, he cleaned, he like I hurt my leg and he really wanted to show me this spot in a river and he like carried me on his back down the
Mhm.
river with a
Yeah.
backpack on his chest of our picnic and this man was fishing and he was like, "Now that's a real man."
He's like, that's what I like to see.
Yeah, this like old
But
man fishing because
that
the guy
is.
yeah, and the guy,
Yeah.
river was like coming up ab over his knees, and it was like kind of rushing, and it was hard. And luckily, this guy was like tall and in shape, but he was like, "Oh, I've been in the army, like carrying packs up mountains. Like this is a pleasure to carry a beautiful woman down a river."
Well,
Meanwhile,
yeah.
American men would be in Philly, they would be like, not even pay for your coffee on a coffee date. Like,
Yeah. Well, and I wonder if that has something to do with it too, because some of the men I've dated that are like American now, but from like different countries or whatever,
yeah.
yeah, some of them have had like short stints in the military. It's almost like maybe there are countries, and I don't know, that like kind of like most of the men do a very small thing in the military, but it
Yeah.
almost gives them that kind of like background, you know? And we
Yeah.
grew up in a military family. Like we understand what that culture is like, and even like on base growing up, like as a young woman, like the men would always hold open the doors and like, call us like ma'am even, or like, like
Yeah.
let us go in front of them and were very helpful. So
Yeah.
it's very nice.
Well, this is a
I
whole,
actually,
what were you gonna say?
yeah. I went on some dates with a Russian guy,
Hmm.
and which is like a culture like I've never dated or like wasn't sure, like knew nothing about, or like what he would be like. And it was like so interesting and fun, and like his views on women actually, like I don't know what I was expecting, but like they were
Yeah.
so high. And like the way he looked at like women's sports and all things about women, it was like really, really refreshing having like conversations with him about like world events or things that were happening, or like even just his perspective. And it didn't come out in a way like that was like too pushy, like, oh, of course I support women because of this or this. It was like natural in his language, like it was natural in our
Yeah.
conversations, like things I could pick up on. It wasn't blatant, like, oh, I'm for women's rights, or oh, I think women are equal. It was like just things that I could tell from the way he talked.
Yeah, it wasn't like performative, like a pickup line.
Yes.
Yeah. It's really
Yeah,
interesting.
exactly. I
American men, like they seriously, I don't, they just like specifically thinking of, I mean, we like went to school in Jersey and I lived in Philly and it's like I don't it might just be that region, but I think it really is the United States of like so many men are just kind of taught to mock women and make fun of women and like, oh, if he teases you, he likes you, like stuff like that.
Oh,
And
that was told us all the time, and I drill the opposite into my daughter's head.
yeah,
Like, and I even heard like her grandparents say, like, "Oh, he must like you," like 2 years ago, and I was
yeah,
like, "No, it means he's a little jerk,
yeah,
and he deserves none of your attention because he's not a good person. He's not treating you nicely.
yes. Which
Like
I
if somebody
think
likes you, they should treat you well."
yes. And like I think flirting, I think where that might have come from, like, oh, if he's teasing you, he likes you, is like flirting. But like it got so out
Hmm.
of control to where boys would just be so mean and harmful and like actually physical and like people were still like, oh, it's because he likes her. It's
Hmm.
like, no, like there's a difference. Like it's, I don't know. And it just, that's a horrible person anyway, even as a child. Like,
Yeah, but think about
I
how
don't know.
something so simple that you can tell to little girls, and then like, what are they accepting as they get older? Like, oh, their boyfriend, they like him and stuff, and he's a little mean, but he must like me, and like, it's like under there. So,
Or
yeah. So
like
I think
saying,
dating, like, I would, yeah, I would just say be open to like people that you don't normally think maybe would be your type.
yeah.
Because it's like if you're going to be out there and you're dating, like, you might as well,
Yeah. Kristen
you got
Bell.
divorced, your type didn't Go ahead.
Well, it's like the cool girl epidemic with like Kristen Bell and Dax Shepard of like he's constantly mocking her and like spending her money and being reckless and like and just being embarrassing. And she's like, "Well, they don't get his humor." And it's like, "No, someone who loves you and respects you doesn't like mock you like that. They just don't." And yeah, so that the cool girl like which is definitely again when we were like especially your generation, but like when we were growing up and like learning and first started dating, because you really you didn't date at all. For anyone listening, like Amber did not fucking date. She met
I had two
people.
boyfriends and got married. Like,
Yeah. So this really is her first time dating. And,
it
but yeah,
really
again, like after divorce, it can be so scary. My personal rule when I was dating was I would not date a man unless he had been divorced for 2 years, like pen on paper divorce, not separated, pen on
is.
paper. Like the day they signed the papers was 2 years or more ago. And that there were people that I really, really liked and wanted to keep dating, but they weren't, it was not within that boundary. And so I was like, I'm sorry, this just doesn't work for me. And it was hard to keep that. But then I ended up being so glad that I did because then they would respond to that with something like really immature or like really intense or like just something that was like, whoa, like this is kind of crazy that this is how you responded. And it's showing me who you are. And now I know why I have this rule because even if they are a great person, like I don't know this personally, but I know this through family, our parents, like my friends, like divorce is such an intense emotional thing that like that person is not on stable ground. So
Mm.
breaking off the relationship with them might like maybe trigger them to be more emotionally immature than normal, but like that's not mine to deal with. That's theirs. So like that rule was there to protect me and it did protect me. And so Amber, I remember her being like, I remember you being like, yeah, that's a good rule. Like,
So the relationship I was in after my divorce, we were both actively going through our divorces at the time. And I think you're right. I don't think that either one of us had enough stability
mm,
like as individuals in our world to come together and then create a world together. And as hard as we tried, that chaos was still there in the background in both of our lives. So I agree with you because like now that like I'm fully divorced and I'm dating and it was a boundary that I had, not that they had to be 2 years, but I think
yeah.
women dating after divorce have to set boundaries. Make yourself a list in your notes in your phone. Just make yourself a list. And then if a man is like, if that man doesn't meet the criteria, like, okay, I think there can be flexibility, but really think about it because, like, I have really tried to stick to like that person that I'm going on a date with has to be divorced. And I'll tell you what, like, for the men that I've gone on dates with that are fully divorced, and like, even if I've continued and had more dates, like, I don't even think about their ex wife. It doesn't even come up. They don't bring up my ex husband. There's not this like listen to this or like this drama or like could there be feelings like there's none of that insecurity there. There's none of that chaos there. Like, I don't even like ever think about like, oh, well, who are you married to? How much do you see her? Like, do you guys hang out? Are you friends? The only thing I care about when a man talks to me about getting divorced and when he talks about his ex-wife is how he talks about her.
Mhm.
He can say that like, things didn't happen or they're not as friendly, but like any man who's like, she was crazy, she was this, she was that, she was horrible, it's kind of a red flag for me
Yeah.
because it almost just seems like, I don't know, I think for women, they get themselves in, relationships that like aren't always as healthy with men easier than men do with women. And there's definitely unhealthy relationships with women. But I do think it's like a red flag when they only talk poorly, especially if they have children with the woman, because it's
Yeah.
like at the end of the day, that is the mother of your kids.
Yeah.
And like there has to be some respect there.
Yeah. That's literally insane. Like so scary.
But there's a lot of men out there. So I think like women dating after divorce, like if they bring their ex up, like just listen to how they talk about her, you
Hmm.
know?
Yeah.
So, because the men that I've usually had more than one date with will say, like, we're not that friendly, but it's okay. Like, we do our best for the kids. We communicate for the kids, or we're flexible for the kids. And like, that's what I like to hear. You know what I mean? You don't have to be best friends with your ex-wife, but like, just talk about her in an appropriate way.
Yeah, just be an actual adult and be mature and respectful and get over it.
Yeah.
Get over
Yeah.
it. Like if you're still harboring these intense feelings and it's like he's not ready to date. Because that's not your
Yeah.
fucking problem. And men will do everything besides go to therapy. So don't be his unpaid therapist ever. Get
Yes.
yourself a
Although
therapist and
I do
don't
have to
be
say,
him.
if a man says he's in therapy, like I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Because like it's like going to the gym, right? Take care of your mental health, take care of your physical health.
Yeah.
But the guy who texted me and said I didn't like I must have been busy because I didn't get back to him all day. On our phone conversation, he told me that he had a relationship therapist. And he was like, I was talking to my relationship therapist the other day. And in my head, I was like, you're not in a relationship. But I found out he has a therapist that he just talks to about how to potentially act once he gets in a relationship. And like for me, like I didn't know how to like process or take that. I've never heard
Well,
of that.
I
Like
mean, it's
having a
not,
relationship therapist while I'm single.
well, it's kind of like me with the dating course, like I'm not a dating therapist, but it's like helping someone like and the when we talked about the masculine feminine, it's like I wanted to learn about relationships because I wanted to change my experience and my stories with relationships. So like learning about them and how to create one I actually want was something I invested in.
Okay,
So
so you would see that as like a good thing. It's like he's being proactive, trying to figure out how to.
like yes and no. I don't want to be toxic, but I think that men who men who do too, I think men's spiritual journey, I think spirituality in terms of like the traditional sense of like letting go of your ego, finding oneness, blah blah blah. I think that's for men. I think a man's spiritual journey is to become selfless, and I think a woman's spiritual journey for most women is to become selfish. And
Yeah,
because what happens is we usually give way too much and then end up in these scary situations. And whereas a man, like they're the ones doing the scary shit. So it's like they're the ones who need to learn how to be selfless and let go of their ego. But when women get too wrapped up in spiritual and self like development, it's like it doesn't help. It just makes you be a doormat. It makes you attract narcissists and abusers. So it's like I think there's a time and a place. I don't know. I just think men who, yeah, therapy is great, but I think like, I don't know how to say what I want to say. If a man is like doing too much spiritual work and not like, I think it would be better for most men if they're like struggling with themselves, like go do something for other people. Don't just
mhm.
sit and obsess about yourself. Like, and I
Yeah.
think that all the men that I dated that were toxic, that were in therapy, it was like they had a therapist who coddled them and like validated every narcissistic thing that they did. And it almost sounded like they were attracted to that. Like it was weird. It was a
I've
weird
seen that.
dynamic.
I've actually seen that too on multiple occasions. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Mhm.
Where
Yeah,
they're
you can kind of pick up on how they're talking about it.
yes, rather than someone who holds them accountable and calls them out
Mhm.
on toxic behaviors or mindsets, or like maybe you should try respecting that person rather than I'm so glad you spoke up for your anger or like like I don't
You're so great. You deserve better. Or you bring all this to the table, like just like, inflating their ego because
yes.
that's what they got to do to keep their client.
Yes, just
Okay,
you're
so
inappropriate
yeah.
relationship. Yeah. So I don't know. Green
So
flag
another
but
thing,
also can be red flag.
yeah, like I don't know. For some reason I was taking it as a red flag.
Yeah, well, trust your gut.
Yeah, it almost felt like the therapist was telling him how like great he was and how stupid women were because he's not in a relationship.
Mhm.
Um, so another thing, I wanted to get your opinion on this, and then I'll give mine.
Mhm.
So, women dating after divorce. Do you think that it's good to go on multiple dates with multiple men and like follow up with multiple men, like conversations, texting, second dates at the same time? Or do you think it's more productive and healthy to like, if you go on a date with a man, stop accepting new dates and see where that develops? Do you think sometimes if you go on multiple dates while you have a real connection, it can kind of stifle that real connection and not let it grow?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Or are you putting all your eggs in one basket for too long, you know?
Yeah, I used to do the whole eggs in one basket thing. And I'm still not. No, I'm just kidding. My
Ah,
fiance,
you have been on some time because
my fiance
he
is
needs to
unloading
have a voice.
groceries and he just turned around like, what? No,
Oh, he's a saint.
it's amazing.
He's a saint.
But got to keep them on their toes.
Yes.
But no, I think I think I definitely used to like I used to give someone my full attention, and that's also like just me as a person. Like I can't be in the same room with someone without giving them my full attention, and that's why alone time for me is so important because I just don't know how to not do that. And so when I would date someone, I would just give them my full attention, and I think what's bad with that is I would project onto them all of these positive qualities that they didn't yet have because I treated
Mm,
them like someone who is important in my life and they weren't. Like, and I was someone who believed in like love and kindness and universal love and oneness and treating everyone how you want to be treated, which like yes, I do that, but also um like a man that you just met doesn't deserve your full attention. They don't like who are they to you? Like they should prove themselves over time. And I think I am a big advocate of like taking things very slow. Like it was very rare that I ever kissed on the first date. It was very rare
mhm,
that anything physical would happen unless I was like, okay, it's this person.
mm.
If I was dating multiple people, I just would, and again, everyone can make up their own rules. There's no shame, there's no like
Yeah.
physical rules that anyone needs to follow. But for me, I know that my emotions, I wouldn't be able to keep them clear that like I would get emotionally attached to someone if I was intimate with them. So I was like,
Mhm,
unless I was ready to be clouded by that attachment, and I felt safe to be like, I know my judgment will be clouded after this experience. Like, am I ready for that? Or do I still need more information to see if I trust them or if I want to just go like with see how this goes? Um, so I don't know. I think like just dating is gathering data. So like just taking it slow, letting people show you who they are, gather data. I also think like personally where I landed with communication while dating was like you shouldn't be texting someone all the time. Like it shouldn't be days and days. If you're going on multiple dates and it's been like weeks, whatever, of seeing someone, it shouldn't be like days without texting, but it shouldn't be like these intense conversations all day long with someone you've only been on one or two dates with, because that's also very weird. It's like this person should be investing in getting to know you in person or on a phone call, and like texting is not a relationship. And I think a lot of people create like a false intimacy through
yeah.
text. And then it's like, then you wasted all this time and you were invested in someone that's not real. So and then no social media. I would never share social media. I'm like, you need to invest in getting to know me real time and exchange energy real time, or else like I'm not available because it's not real. So those were my rules with
That
dating.
is
Yeah.
something, yeah, that you shared with me. Sam said that, she suggested to me not to share socials, because she said, like, yeah, then, like, when you get together, you're not like having those conversations, learning about each other. And at first, I didn't know how I felt about it. And I've only shared it with two guys. And the one guy, like, nothing's gonna happen with, like, but like, he's so super cute. I'm like, you can look at my stuff, I'll look at your stuff, you're adorable. And the other guy I'm still talking to. But when I first, like, it was after our first date, we went on the first date and it went great. And then he asked for socials and we exchanged them. And then I got his, and there were like four posts. And he got
Exactly.
mine, and there's like 3 years worth of shit. And he's like
Yeah.
texting me, like, I didn't know you had cancer. I didn't know this about your family. I didn't know this about you. And I was just like, all right, this was not an even exchange. And I said that to him.
No.
I said, you should have told me you had nothing. And I was like,
Yeah.
this was not an even exchange. I said, because now you know everything about me and I know nothing about you. And like,
Mhm.
he actually, like, when we got together, he showed me pictures of his girls and he like took pictures out of his wallet. Like, he had like the pictures from school that you order and stuff, which I thought was like super cute because I was like, oh, he carries their pictures in the wallet, but he never showed it to me on the phone. And at one point, it was like after our third or fourth date, we were talking, and I said to him, I was like, look, like, I just have to tell you, like, you have no social media presence. You've only shown me pictures of your girls on these like pictures. I was like, how do I even know you actually have kids? I was like,
Yeah.
how do I know? And then so he was like, oh my God. And then so he like next time we got together, he like showed me his phone and he's like, this is us at the Phillies game and stuff. But I started thinking about it and I was like, this
Yeah.
man, like, I don't know him. And
You
like I
don't.
am trusting the information he's giving me. But then I was like, he has all this information about me and he's showing me these printed pictures. They could just be some random kids that like he got and he's like, oh, I'm a great father, and like this persona that's
Yeah.
not even real. And he laughed and he was like, I get it.
Yeah. And he could literally be psycho. And now he knows what your kids look like, where they go to, where they learn cheerleading and where they play sports and the teams and the fields. And you know what I mean? It's like men know that women usually share more on social media than them. Men know that. They know that they don't have their personal shit out there. They know that we put personal shit out there. And so it's like, why? You don't need to know that. You can learn it through
Mhm.
asking me. And it's not even for you. Like my social media was for women, helping women heal sexual trauma, helping women feel closer to their bodies, some spiritual stuff. I was like, it's not, my social media isn't for you. So unless we're in a relationship, I'm not going to tell you. And it literally led to some dude that I was dating when I said that to him. He like was all offended and very weird about it. And then he looked up my social media. He like was researching me and he found this website where like men were trying to find nude pictures of me, like creeps online. Yes, and he found this website and he was like, they're claiming that you have a like account where you share X-rated videos like on one of those websites, the like the classic one that you would go to if you want to watch people having, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Someone on the website was like, "Oh yeah, she has a thing. It's like this handle," and it was like similar to my Instagram handle. And I was like,
Yeah.
obviously not me, and there's no content on there that is me. And like but it's just these random creepy men. And he was like, you need to know this. I found this out and I thought it was so weird and that you didn't share your Instagram with me. So I thought I would find out who the real Sam really is. And it was just so fucking creepy and bizarre.
Yeah.
Like it just if when you set boundaries, it
Mhm.
helps you find out who people are and like it unravels really quickly. And that was someone I had been dating for like 5 weeks, but like again, taking it really slow, like one date a week, not texting too much, no physical like intimacy, like just getting to know him. And he really and then it almost scared me because when I broke it off with him, he got more intense. And it was like, this is like,
Yeah, it's unfortunately it's things that like women have to deal with. And I do think like I'm a firm believer, like I do not share my social media. And you're right, like they get way too much access to you. And women, like when you're dating after a divorce, if you think men aren't like trying to deep dive and find stuff out about you before they meet you or right after they meet you, like you're wrong. Because like
yeah,
when I think about it, I think about it more from a woman's perspective. Like, oh, like let me try to find his stuff and like see what he's about and make sure. But the men do it very aggressively. Like I went on a second date and the guy said something about me being a realtor before. And I was like, because I'm not a realtor anymore. And I shared my occupation with him. And I was like, wait, how did you know I was a realtor? And he goes, oh, well, I put your phone number into Google after I got it, after you gave it to me. And you can like Google search somebody's phone number and it pops everything up on the web about you. So like he had like, and I didn't tell him this either. Like I had my stories like public for some reason on Facebook and I didn't realize it. Like I
yeah.
had seen that he like viewed one of my stories and he didn't tell me. Like he didn't say I found you on Facebook or I saw your story. But like usually like if you're not friends with somebody, it won't show their name, but every now and then mine will show who looked at it. And like so I was looking at my story and I was like, And so he just like literally like researched me online, and it freaked me out that he knew that I was a realtor and I never told him. But these
Yeah.
men will do it. So like before you start dating after a divorce, especially if you have kids, but like even for your own safety, make sure all of your stuff, if it is public, make sure it's private. And if you want to keep it public, just make sure that you're doing things that don't show where you live, things in your routine, stuff like that, like just to have like some safety. Because, like you said, you could date someone for 5 weeks and then realize that they're not very stable.
No. And that, yeah, and that if you set a boundary, it might like unravel their whole facade.
Trigger them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I will say that too. And I think it's okay to date multiple people. Like
Yeah.
I do. Especially like for me, like if I date multiple people, like, like I am just keeping it to dates. Like there's like nothing else happening. You know what I mean? Like I'm not doing that. And that's just something like that feels good for me. But like it is like because like sometimes it'll take 5 or 6 weeks and then you'll realize this person wasn't who you thought they were. So I do think it's good to like date multiple people and see what you like and stuff. But then if you get serious with someone, I'm very honest with people.
Yeah.
Like if they're like, oh, I just want us to meet each other, are you going out on other dates, and like we haven't had that conversation, sometimes I'm like
Yeah.
and I feel bad, but like i
Don't feel bad because
i
they're
do try
going on,
if I
they're talking to multiple people, guaranteed. They always are. Even if they
yeah.
say they're not, they are. They're liking images, they're
And girls,
following people. Yeah. And also
yeah,
like,
so I think there's a lot of that out there, but I do think I
yeah,
think there's guys who get really serious really fast, so I think girls have to be aware of that too.
yes, the ones who want to get serious really fast are the ones that you need to watch out for. Um, like my
I mean,
fiance,
I went on 2 dates. Yeah, I went on 2 dates and the guy told me he loved me. Asked if we
yeah,
should switch weekends, so our weekends switched up, and I was like, bro, I just think this is like a little fast. And then I had
yeah,
another guy, I was on a third date with him, and like I didn't even know his last name at this point, which I didn't realize until he started saying my first name with his last name. And I was like, wait, is that your last name? And he was like, yeah, like it would just be so nice and stuff. And so I'm telling you, women, these men fall in love. So just
they
be ready.
yeah, they fall quickly, and I used to take it as a compliment, and then I started to realize like, no, this is an unstable person. This is an
Mhm.
unstable person who doesn't have boundaries and standards, and they're just like so desperate looking for someone. And like, I don't want to be with someone like that. Like, it's unsafe to be with someone like that. But I will say, my fiance is really amazing. And on the third date, he was like, it feels like there's love here. And
Okay, that's different than being like, I'm in love you. I love you. I'm
yeah,
gonna switch my whole schedule for you.
uh,
Like,
yeah, we were in the car after dinner. I was like, where? Like, where? Where is it?
oh, it always happens in the
Like,
car, I'm telling you.
it's always in the car. But I was like, okay, like, yeah, we're just seeing how it goes. Like, again, like, okay, that's nice. Like, we'll just see how it goes. Like, just always, like, there's always more information to come, more information to gather. Dating is just gathering data. Like, that's sweet. Let's, like, okay. Like, it's
Yeah,
not,
and you know what?
yeah,
I love that. I love like the love at first sight, like the knowing when you see somebody. I believe in all of that.
yeah,
Just for the most part, like keep it up here.
yeah,
Like keep it in your mind and then say it out loud later. But the way
yeah.
Ben did it is like the best way you could do it if you're going to do it is saying there could be love here instead of
Mhm.
just being like, I am in love with you.
Yeah, he's like, it feels like there's love here. And I was like, yeah, I'm like dating multiple people and I want to take this slow.
Well, and that's usually when like you end up finding a relationship is when you finally let go
Mhm.
of that, like like I think when you first get divorced, like we are saying, there's that scarcity mindset and like I'm gonna be alone forever, or who's gonna want to take on me with kids, like. And I've known men who've said that to other women. I haven't had any of my exes say it to me, like nobody's gonna date you because you have kids, but I know women whose exes say that to them, and it's a horrible thing to say. But so I think like letting go of that
Yeah.
and just know and like just being like, okay, like whatever happens happens, I'm out here having fun, if it turns into something great.
Yeah. I love the rich guy on Instagram. I forget his name. Normally I remember, but he's like in LA. He is
Russell
really
Hanson or
Russell.
Russell
Yeah. Russell Hartley or
Harvey,
Hart
Russell
Hart
Harvey.
no, I think it's Russell um Russell something.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's always wearing a suit on Instagram, and he was like reading a comment, and she was like, I'm recently divorced and worried no one wants to date a single mom. He was like, they'll date you even if you have a husband. Like men, men will date you if you have kids. Men will date you even if you have a husband. So like
He's like, they don't care. If
they
they
don't
like you, they will pursue you. Like, yeah, it doesn't matter.
yeah.
But it's so true. Yeah, he goes, they'll date you when you have kids. They'll date you when you have your husband.
Yeah, just like they don't give a fuck. And but that's the other thing. Like I really want to bring this point not to like be a fear monger, but I just want to say like it is so important to take your time and vet people, especially if you're a single mom, because the Epstein case has really brought out how many men are pedophiles, and it is shocking. There are 200,000 new IP addresses, I think, every single month searching and downloading child porn and or like I don't even like that term for it, but I don't know what we can say without getting
Yeah.
like flagged or whatever, but like abuse.
Mhm. Yeah.
There's yeah, there are 200,000 new IP addresses every single month. I think that statistic might even be weekly. I don't know. It might be more than that. But it's actually insane. And so like really not letting men see what your kids look like. Like don't put any pictures of your children on the dating apps. Don't ever let them see
Oh,
pictures of your kids. Like don't, it's just like you have to mama bear protect them. Like you have to Red Foreman. Like I will put my foot up your ass like in any second if needed. If you disrespect me, if you like just yeah, just be an absolute like don't try to be like, well, I'm just looking for love and I'm just looking for this. Like we love our mom so much. And we also learned a lot from watching her mistakes. Which is unfortunately what happens when you're a mom and have kids and go through hard
mhm.
life things.
Yeah.
But like she was so just wanting someone to love her that like she got into a toxic, abusive relationship and like it affected the kids. And like it's just, thank God it wasn't worse than it was because it could have been. Because when you're just so looking for love and validation and connection over keeping your family safe and being aware and not being naive. Not being
Yes.
naive. That is the most
Well,
important thing.
I think that's very good. So, like, I would say to women getting divorced, I would say make a list before you start dating. Make a list of like qualities you're looking for. I would make a list of things you absolutely will not accept.
Mhm.
Try to stick to that. And then when it comes to the kids, make like give yourself a timeline. Like, I will not introduce someone I'm dating to my children until I'm with them serious for a year. Six
Yeah.
months, whatever you want it to be. But I think it's important to really sit with that and think about it and write it down because when you do find that person and you get excited and it feels so good to be in a relationship again, and you're like, he's so great, you're going to want to rush to like merge those worlds together. And
Yeah.
you're going to just want it to be normal and feel like it used to feel and be able to do all the things and have your kids like them. But like
Have a
if you
family.
make that for you, yeah, have a family again. But if you like really search yourself and find that, and write it down before you start dating, before you start catching these feelings. Like you can go back and be like, okay, like I just have to like come back to myself and know this is so great. And eventually we'll get there. But like this is my standard and that's what I'm sticking to.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so to wrap it up,
Yeah.
that's what I would say. I would say don't be scared that you're going to be alone. There's plenty of people out there. Have boundaries. Be safe about it as much as it sucks. Have that one friend, two friends if you don't want to overwhelm people. Tell them where you're going. Tell them who you're going to be with. And yeah, I do agree with you from personal experience. Don't share your social media.
Yeah. Don't rush. Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
we could seriously do a whole episode just on boundaries because I think part of like a really hard part of my dating journey was learning what boundaries even were. Because I was like, I literally
Mm-hmm.
Googled like what are examples of boundaries that people have. Because I was just so like everyone
Yeah.
deserves love and kindness and forgiveness and like spiritual, down the spiritual path in a way that was letting me everyone treat me poorly. And so
Yeah.
like, yeah, we could do a huge deep dive in just that alone.
Yeah, maybe we'll do that next because like
Yeah.
especially if you're coming out of a marriage and dating after divorce, like
Yeah.
you've probably been in it for a certain amount of time. Some marriages are short, but I think the
Yeah.
average is like 7 or 9 years. So like at that
Wow.
point, you probably haven't reevaluated what your boundaries are in a very long time. So
Yeah.
I think that's a good
Yeah.
idea. So
Especially getting
definitely
to the
everybody let us know.
Yes, give us a comment, like and subscribe.
Mhm.
Give us a 5-star rating on Spotify. Please, you can email us. It's down below. And there's also a link that where you can join my dating course and follow me on Instagram at Sammy B Love. Amber will be sharing her amazing shorts that she's been doing about the ick, and they're so funny and cute on our YouTube channel. If you've been listening on Spotify, you also can watch our faces on YouTube. But yeah, we're so glad you're here and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.